So, Lou, we are here to have a chat with Biomechanics Coach Lou, who is also one of our master trainers. And so this is the first time we've spoken properly since lockdown. So how are you doing? So anybody who's watching this back, this will go on YouTube. Anybody who's watching it back, who are you? What do you do? Really? First.
So my name's Lou Banfield. I'm based down in Devon, in North Devon. My main role is a Pilates teacher. I have been a Pilates teacher for 23 years. Started out as a PTI in the army for 6 years. Did my personal training qualification when I left the army pregnant with my second child. So I tend to sort of break barriers and not sort of follow the lead. So one of the first women in the army to stay in and have a child. And then when I got pregnant with my second one, I left and did a personal training qualification, rather large. So that was interesting doing that. I think I was about 7 months pregnant by the time I finished it. I did it with Premier Global, or Premier Global as they are now. And then I started personal training and hooked up with a girl in Henley-on-Thames who introduced me to Body Pump. That was my way of getting back fit after my second child, and I loved Body Pump. So I said, can you train me? So I went off and trained to do Body Pump, started teaching that for her. And then she went, my Pilates teacher has left. Do you want to try Pilates? And I was like, no idea what Pilates is. Never heard of it. But I'd suffered a lot with back problems because I was an ex-gymnast. So I had Sherman's. I've got Sherman's in my thoracic and my lumbar levels, and it caused me a lot of problems through pregnancy and going straight back into the army with a 3-month-old and doing 8-mile runs. And I didn't really look after my body very much at all. Typical, like, full-on athlete, you know, out there, head game, not looking after myself. So I went, I'll go and give it a go. So she asked me if I wanted to train because our teacher left on the Sunday. By the following Monday, I was in London on a intensive course training to be a Pilates teacher. So I trained with Body Control Pilates, which was Lynn Robinson at the time, or still is Lynn Robinson, and taught in Henley for a little bit, and then came home because my ex-husband was made redundant, so we moved back to Devon and set up Pilates. There was no Pilates anywhere in the southwest of England. So the closest teacher to Devon was me in Henley before I moved back to Devon. So took it back to Devon. Back then there was no internet. So it was all done paper. I got sent a list of people from head office in London of people in the southwest of England that were interested in Pilates. And I contacted them, started my first class. Within 6 months, had 8 classes running and full, 10 private clients running. And this is all with a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Yeah. So in between running to nursery and dropping Molly off and coming back, teaching 2 private clients, going back, pick her up, come home. I had a really dear friend who was Jamaican, moved over from Jamaica. She nannied for me from 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 9 o'clock at night, 4 nights a week, so that I could go out and teach in the evenings. And that's how it started, really, my journey. So as much as I started off as a personal trainer, I sort of, sports massage was my thing and rehab and therapy was my thing because of my own issues. And because nobody really helped me back then, nobody knew what was going on and I didn't know what to do to get myself out of pain. I sort of, like a lot of people do, just found my own path. And Pilates was it, and it changed my life, not just professionally, but personally. It enabled me to continue to run and weight train and swim and do all the things that I love doing without pain, because I was in a lot of pain. I was on a Zimmer frame for 6 weeks after the birth of Charlie. So, I had to work it out for myself. I tried everything, everything I could. Crystal, light therapy, osteopathy, everything, physio, I'd done everything. So it changed me personally and professionally, and 23 years later, here I am still doing it. Obviously did my biomechanics, I don't even know when I did it.
Well, I was thinking, because I've known you, I reckon I knew you years before you did the training.
I think so.
I reckon we were speaking for 2 years.
Yeah.
Before you did you send Charlie first?
Charlie came up with Ian Jones.
Yeah. His son and Ian came and did the diploma, the Biomechanics Coach diploma, and then that was then when you. Well, no, was it another year later?
That would have been, so the gym has been open 9 years, so that would have been about 9 years ago that they did the course, 8 or 9 years ago, and we were speaking way before that, weren't we, I guess? Yeah. And Ian Jones, funny enough, is now doing amazingly well. He is now the head strength and conditioning coach for, oh, I'm going to get this wrong now. He started at QPR, went to I don't know, he's like at Arsenal or somewhere like that, maybe.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, under 21s head. Wow. I'll get back to him on that, but he's done brilliantly. So he's used his personal training, his biomechanics coach. He trained as a Pilates instructor as well. But so he uses all those tools for the under 21s that I want to say Arsenal, but and obviously Charlie is running the gym. So they've both been really successful in their own right. And then I came and did the biomechanics course with Molly.
2 years. 3 years ago. 2017. Was it 17? 2017, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, 3 years then. 3 years.
There's got a whole family.
Yeah, whole family.
All biomechanics coaches.
So. I know. And obviously we hosted a biomechanics trainers course at the gym.
Yeah.
I don't know when that was. Tom came down with yourself and did it.
15 months ago. Yeah.
That might be 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Or before. It might have been before I did I can't remember. Time is blurred at the moment. So it's been a long journey. And as you know, the last 4 years of my life have been a bit crazy with selling up home and having to make a decision on my career pathway, which is why I came and did the biomechanics coach. I needed to boot myself up the backside, and I was in quite a low place, so I needed to do something to promote me and get me back on track. So that's why I did the biomechanics coach course 3 years ago. And it's sort of, time has just sped up so much since then. So obviously doing the Teaching and Assessors Award as well, doing the Master Trainer, coming up to Bristol with Tom and observing Tom and helping Tom out up there. And moving house and trying to set up a new business here. So I'm now in Bideford in North Devon. So I've now bought a big unit. So I'm living in the flat above and I've got a shop downstairs, which is currently been ripped out literally the last 2 days. I've been labouring in between teaching classes. I've been shoveling rubble, knocking down walls. So that's going to be my new studio. Planning has gone in for it to be changed from office to movement and therapy centre, biomechanics. Sorry, dirty dog's just come in. Can you shut the door, please, Imogen? So movement, biomechanics and therapy space. So it's basically going to be, obviously I've taught mat work Pilates for 23 years and studio with all the different types of Pilates equipment, the Cadillacs, reformers and everything else. But actually I'm trying to focus on what I love doing, and reformer is my thing. I love the reformer. You can do so much on the reformer. So my downstairs space is going to be reformer only classes. So I'm going to get 6 to 8 reformers. It's going to be reformer only classes and therapy and biomechanics. That's it. So I'm going to have a therapy room at the back. Molly's going to come and do her massage and hopefully be able to do a biomechanics from there as well. So we'll have that space. And I'm just waiting for the planning permission to come through, which should be through on June the 5th. Going to build the studio. So whilst everybody's in lockdown going on board, I am rushed off my feet trying to build a new studio. Shut my business down on March the 16th, and 3 days later was up and running with all my timetable online. So it gave me the kick up the backside I needed, because I'd sort of fell out of one business into another with obviously the change in my personal circumstances, and I'd not really got all my systems up and running in place. So what lockdown has enabled me to do is, or has made me do, is get all my systems up and running, my database, my contacts, learning Zoom, massively gone through. My skills, I feel like my learning curve has been vertical for the last year, but in the last month, it's just skyrocketed. So it's brilliant. You know, it's opened up so many avenues. I've been taking some classes with some of my mentors and colleagues that I trained with 23 years ago in London. Just opened up all of my ex-colleagues that I used to teach or train with, because obviously I forgot to say, I did teach a train for body control for 5 years and went around the country doing their physio and Pilates courses. So I've basically visited every hospital in the country in Scotland, you know, presenting those courses. And again, this was all before internet. It's scary. I was thinking back on my career pathway and I was thinking, we used to do all of this with no internet. It was all done through letter and phone call. And now it just beggars belief how we used to manage without the internet. Yeah. You know, when I trained, there was no access to YouTube and training. There's so much out there now. It's so accessible. So what this is doing is making me totally rethink and go, right, do I actually want to go back and be teaching in person quite so much? You know, I want to be able to keep this online stuff going because it's fantastic and I'm loving it. It's really given me a boost, and there's just been so many opportunities over the last month with online and Zoom and learning and news. Even my elderly clients, you know, they're in their 70s. I'm like, don't worry, we can get you on Zoom, it's fine. You know, so I've become this IT consultant. What device are you using? Well, I'm using a Kindle. I'm like, no idea, never used a Kindle. But they've jumped on board with me. So their skills have gone through the roof. And it's brilliant because they can use it to stay socially connected with their family. So it's just never ending, isn't it? Their horizons.
I mean, the way you're talking about it is kind of in one sense, which is kind of a contradiction in terms, like a paradox, that it's almost like we're more connected now than we were face to face because we've got breathing space, we've got time to think about it, and we're actually more conscious of being connected to people and using more platforms. I was saying, just done a webinar just now, and I did an I'm You Freely class to 170 people around the world in Hong Kong and Asia, and you know, and I was like, this wouldn't have happened pre-lockdown. Well, eventually it might have done, or you know, inadvertently. But I thought the way it's kind of almost just literally shifted everyone's thinking. I mean, I was thinking of you because I thought, geez, you've like had such a load of change in the last year. It's almost like, well, lockdown, nah. You know, I was thinking of Lou. I said, oh, Lou will be breezing this because it's like just, you've had just so much Kubler Ross shake up. So do you think then, in terms of the lockdown, and I'm always aware, and I'll always say this when we talk about the opportunities that have arisen, is I'm totally aware that there are some people who are really suffering financially, health-wise. People are losing loved ones, so I'm super aware of that. I don't mean to belittle that or anything, but I think then there's, you know, Mary Taylor gave me a really great analogy of, you know, we're all on the same water, we're in different boats. And so I think some people are just in a different boat. You know, some people are having a horrific time, and, you know, I feel for them, and I'm doing whatever I can in my village. But there's people in other boats where it's become this huge opportunity, and I see it as our duty of care to help as many people as we can, keep moving, stay healthy, unburden the NHS a little bit more, because when we get to the other side, we're going to have people with mental health issues, they're going to be obese, they're going to have joint problems. Whereas if we can get this stuff out there now, we might just reduce that a little bit. So is that how you see the lockdown, is kind of more as an opportunity? It sounds like it, but obviously it's been stressful as well, I imagine. I saw you again there. I've got you back.
You know, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to hotspot for some reason, my internet is unstable and I don't know why.
I've got you now. Are you going to hotspot?
I'm just thinking it might be better to hotspot it and then it'll be good. So I might lose you again.
That's all right. We basically answered my first two questions. But
I like that. I like that analogy of the water and different boats.
Water on the boats. And I think it's so important. There was a friend of mine in the village who she's on the parish council, and the reason I spoke to her was because they had a sign up by the doctors saying if anybody wants to volunteer. So I rang up, and she said, "Can you help?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I can. What do you need?" And she says, "Well, there's an 88-year-old lady whose daughter's got COVID. Her granddaughter's with her daughter, so she can't help. She needs medicine being, you know." And we've been in touch quite a bit. She's obviously quite vocal on social media. We've got a Facebook page in the village, and she put up this post all about. She didn't use that analogy. That was from Mary, but she was talking about we've got to remember and be sensitive to everyone's in a different place. I'm like you. I'm kind of slightly excited about opportunities ahead, but because I'm doing things publicly like this, I just have to give that little caveat, like I get it, and I'm not kind of for a minute going like, you know, this is great. I mean, you know, it's driving me insane at the same time, but you only have a certain amount of control, so focus on that, right? Have you been able to do that? I know you're like that anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, my personal circumstances over the last 5 years have been incredibly challenging, and I thought I was in Kubler-Ross, but I was in this gigantic Kubler-Ross. I mean, I climbed Kilimanjaro back in October. This Kubler-Ross curve is bigger than that.
You don't mess about, mate. I've been watching you. I'm thinking, what are you doing? Have a break. What are you doing? Kilimanjaro.
And I took up paragliding last year as well.
I know.
Oh, brilliant. I tell you what, highly recommend it. It is the best feeling in the world. But I was in this, and I reckon my Kubler-Ross curve, like looking back, you know, hindsight's amazing, isn't it? Looking back, I would say I was in a Kubler-Ross, a massive Kubler-Ross, for probably going on for 2 to 3 years, okay? But within that Kubler-Ross, there were loads of mini Kubler-Rosses all the way down the curve. Every time I thought I was coming up, I'd go down again. Yeah. But the one thing, so when I was in that curve, I was like, I know I'm going to get out of this.
Yeah.
I know I'm strong. I didn't feel it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was in a really bad place. Mm-hmm. But I knew I was going to come out the other side. I had no idea how, and I had no idea when. Yeah. Okay. And every time I was like, yay, I'm coming up. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm back. Mm-hmm. And this happened for, you know, over 2 to 3 years, to the point I hit the bottom of the curve. And I was like, I was ready to give up everything. Literally, I'm done. You know, I'm out of here. And then something happened. I met a colleague, a professional, and I spoke to this professional, and something went like that. And I went, pull your socks up, girl. Get on with this. Get control. And do you know what I think is really important for me and anybody else that is suffering? Because I wanted an answer. How am I going to get out of this? Yeah. I wanted to know. Nobody could tell me how I was going to get out of it. But you know what? The biggest bit, like learning back from my experience, how I got back out of it, and again, it's like now, is taking control. I had to get control back. I totally lost control. I'd lost my way. And once I started to claw back that control, go, right, and what is control? It's structure. It is having structure. And I had no structure. I'd lost my business, you know, I'd lost everything, you know, and slowly I went, right, what's my end goal? Where do I want to be? That's where I want to be. How am I going to get there? I'm going to start to put this in place. Day by, you know, and it was small and it was tiny, but then, you know, and just focusing on that end goal, call it manifestation, call it positive focus, call it, I don't care what you call it, just have that image. And however you visualize that image and focus on that end goal, you've got to keep focusing on it. And that's what I'm doing with Downstairs at the moment. I know what I want to achieve. God knows how I'm going to get there. You know, who knows when we're going to be out of lockdown, but I know I'm going to get there. I'm putting things in place. I'm putting systems in place. I've got a structure. And that was the biggest thing that got me out of that Kubler-Ross curve. So when we went into lockdown, you're absolutely right. I've been living homeless for 3 months with Imogen, who's 14, in my van, sofa surfing friends' houses, moving my kit, no internet connection. It was an experience, one that I can laugh about now, and has hopefully made Imogen a stronger teenager. But I've got out of that, and then I moved into my new property on the 19th of February. I was here for not even 2 weeks, 10 days. In that 10 days, Western Power decided they were going to cut my power for 2 nights, totally. So I'm in a new town, a new building, no electric. Then I went skiing because it had been booked with the family. Went skiing. Lockdown happened the day we left to come back. The resorts went into lockdown. We skied the last ski of the season. Went through Geneva Airport. I'm thinking, oh my God, what are we coming home to? Got home, unpacked my bags on the Sunday. Monday, went and taught my Pilates classes on the 16th. And then my industry was going, no, we need to pull out. We need to shut. We can't do this. So shut my business down on the Monday, and literally Tuesday into lockdown. And I hit the ground running. It's like, well, we've just got to roll with this,
You do. It's just exactly what I've been talking about with the guys earlier, is about, when you're in a situation like this where there is a loss of control, you've got to get some back and have something to work towards. So you're absolutely right. What do you think? So if we come back to kind of like the industry, and how do you see, do you think there is a long-term change to the industry? And if so, what does it look like in 5-10 years time, do you think? Or do you think it's going to get back to normal?
I don't think we should be going back to normal.
Back to normal as it was before lockdown?
Yeah. I don't think normal was a good place,
Why not? Because why?
Because I suppose if we're talking industry, for me, normal wasn't a good place. If we're talking in the wider scheme of things, so much change has happened in the last 4 or 5 weeks for good. Like, I'm just writing an editorial now for my local, magazine, the local paper type thing, that goes out. They've asked me to do an editorial on what lockdown has meant for me. And I just think, things like, we're all massively recognising our key workers, our NHS, and not just the NHS and the nurses and the ones that are there right on the front line dealing with this virus, but our supermarket staff, our bin men, those people that they've been going away and just working away for years and years and years and years, doing a brilliant job, and nobody gives them a second thought.
And now yeah.
And now it's like, my God, if we didn't have those guys going in, in the supermarkets, working in the supermarkets, facing the public, and God, did they get some flack to start with? When there was no toilet rolls, and there was no hand sanitizer, and there was no fairy liquid, and there was no bread, and there was, wake up and smell the coffee, guys. There's going to be food on the table.
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say, what about our industry, do you think?
And our industry now,
health and fitness, personal training, Pilates.
I think now, for me, I don't think I'll go back to what my normal was. Well, I know I'm not going to go back because I'm opening a new business, but my new business is going to have an element of online. I want to take my online, I want to do more online. And we've been very, in the Pilates industry, so I've seen the Pilates industry develop over 23 years. And I did a course that was very much safety first, safety. And in the rest of the Pilates industry, when you look at the States, we were sort of caught, we didn't move much. It was all about safety, alignment, centering, get it all right before you move. Where there were other industry, other Pilates companies that were all about the bigger movements. So I've seen this develop over 23 years to go from, and it's brilliant, don't get me wrong, I loved my training because it gave me such a great foundation to work from. And I built up and layered it up over the years. And it took me 5 years to become comprehensively trained as a Pilates teacher. The mat work, the beginner's mat work, the intermediate, the advanced, the special populations, and then the equipment. And we didn't have all the equipment training out there. We started with the Reformer, and we did Cadillac. So I've learned everything in layers and layers and layers. And now I'm seeing it out there, you know, it's gone so big, and you can, like we were talking, I think on a course, you were saying you did learn to be a personal trainer for £26 online. You know, there's good and bad in everything. I think we have a duty of care and a responsibility as comprehensive instructors of whatever our field is, be it biomechanics, you know, personal training, Pilates, whatever it is we do. We have a duty of care to have integrity in our work, you know, and I don't care what everybody else is doing. If they want to go and do £26 courses, and you're always going to get that. You're going to get the people that go and do a £26 course and go out there and go, yay, I'm a personal trainer, I'm a Pilates teacher, or I'm this, that, and the other. You know, there's going to be no depth in their knowledge, and they're going to fall by the wayside when something like this happens. Yeah. So now we've gone into lockdown, and I think the people like yourself and people that have got integrity in their work and have got the depth of knowledge can run with this and take it online and move forwards in a positive manner. Yeah. And we're going to come out the other end of it, and our businesses will have changed. I am going to change. I am going to have more online stuff. I'm still going to go back and teach my personal, you know, my face-to-face teaching, but I probably will do more online. But I had to change my mindset, because my mindset years ago was, oh, you can't do that. You can't do stuff online. You can't correct people. You can't do this. But actually, we need to move people. And yes, my bag is rehab. It's getting people out of pain. I've spent 20 odd years working with back pain, you know, clients in pain. That's my thing. But now it's making me go, you know what? Yeah, I'm good with working with those clients with pain, and I can take those movements right back, and I can use all the skills in my toolbox, be it the biomechanics or my Pilates or my sports therapy or whatever it is, to get those clients out of pain and settle them down out of that acute level pain. But actually, people need to move. Yeah. And with the online stuff, I'm getting so much positive feedback about the Zoom classes, where my mindset was like, oh, I can't teach online, you know, I can't see people, I can't correct people, I can't get my hands on. So for me, my skills have had to change. You know, I've had to up my visual, my verbal, you know, skills have had, you know, because I've lost my tactile skills. Yeah. So my visual skills, you know, I've had to use my TV. So I've got my big TV so I can see people on a big screen, you know. I'm still not teaching loads and loads of people online, because I want to be able to see them. And I'm still a bit nervous about teaching new people online because of just the nature of what we've done. And I don't know that client. I'm happy to take a new person online if it's on a one-to-one basis, so I can, you know, get to know who they are and what's going on in their lives before I put them in a class. But actually, I'm loving teaching online. It's made me step up, you know, and change my teaching skills. And it's also made me not be quite so anal about my teaching, you know, that, yeah, I'm moving these people. Some of these people, they're, oh, you know, breathe, stabilize, do this, and they're not moving, you know. And it's like, get them moving. Yeah, there's going to be, I still need to keep some people restricted because of pain, but actually I'm getting so much feedback because people are going, wow, I love this. Your Zooms classes are saving me, you know. I've had back pain because I've also had to take back some, I had one of my members of staff resign to leave on March the 27th. So I've had to take back those classes anyway because she left. So I've taken back 4 classes. So for me, I was teaching those clients, and I have taught them before in the past, but I'm having to take them back. So I'm having to get to know those clients, you know, and who they are. And I was, as always, even after all this year's experience, and I don't know whether you feel the same, it was a bit nerve-wracking for me, because a change is always a change, you know. And people, like you say, go into that Kubler-Ross, they're not great with change. And even though they know it's my business, it's like, oh, we've got the boss taking us, and they don't know what they're going to get, but they're loving it. And that's been really rewarding for me, because as much as I'm confident in my ability as a teacher, I still care that people are going to get going to enjoy my class, are going to enjoy my workout. And I'm not, nobody's bigger, than what we are. And I'm always really aware that, I want to make sure they're getting a really good class. And so I've had so much learning going on for me personally. But going forwards, I mean, I'm teaching people from Bahrain, from America, from London. My clients are going, wow, I see you're online. Can I jump on a class? I'm like, be my guest. You've worked with me for years. Come on, jump in, And also, the other thing I really want to say, and I know you said this, and I think we're very parallel in our thought processes, is not to undervalue our services and our skills, because there's so many people out there around me here and, out in the broader world that are going, oh, come on, jump on my free class, do this for free. And that's great, do that, but don't undervalue what you do. I have not changed my pricing structure. I've kept my pricing structure the same, but I've also said to my clients that have lost their incomes, if they've been self-employed, if you've lost your income and it's been taken away from you overnight, you stay on my class. You can do it for free. I don't care. You've been a client of mine for years. This is my time to repay you for your loyalty to me. You stay with me, and then down the line, when we can get back to pay, teaching in person, or if your circumstances change and you can pay me, great. But for now, in this lockdown, all I care about is that you can move, that you can access this class and you're not left out because of your financial situation. So, and you know what? I would say 80 to 85% of my clients have paid me my going rate that they would normally pay me and haven't quibbled. And I even had some people say to me, you know what, even if you don't do this, Lou, we're going to pay you anyway because we still want you here at the end of this.
Yeah, they're really super loyal, aren't they? I mean, this is what I've said to people all along. They love you, they appreciate you. And literally what I've found is everyone is so appreciative of literally anything you're doing. We're all being sensitive and aware about pricing. We're all trying to help out everybody else. So people actually have access to a lot of things, that would normally have cost them money. I'm the same. I've had my costs have all gone down. And so I'm kind of like looking at everything and thinking, yeah, well, what actually was I spending all my money on anyway?
Yeah.
But there are some things, I can't wait to have a massage. There's things that I definitely can't have right now that I am craving. And so I was saying on one of the other interviews, I did a poll on Facebook saying, what do you miss? Everyone misses human contact. So our businesses, while they may change, I agree with you. I think long term, I think online is going to stay. I still believe strongly in the whole oxytocin, human contact. I think that's still going to be a desire, but it does create these kind of levels of packaging and actually gives us a broader platform to reach more people and help more people move better and keep moving. So I'm like you, I'm excited in that respect.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. Human contact is probably the biggest thing we're all missing, isn't it? I've got a little grandchild. He was 3 months old when we went into lockdown. He started rolling over. He's alert. I just want to squidge him, I want to squidge him and I can't. It's really sad. So whatever, like your massage, like Molly's job is massage, and she's got her clients that message her going, I'm really, really missing you, and it is tough. I think that is the biggest thing. So whilst I think, like you say, the online will be here to stay, it will be part of my business going forward. It's not going to be my whole business moving forward. And also I teach reformer Pilates. They're not cheap pieces of equipment, so not everybody's going to have the space or the money to have a reformer at home. So and I'm really looking forward to that aspect of the reformer stuff, and teaching, because I have been teaching mat work and general studio for years, and I need a change. I still want to do my rehab and I still want to get people out of pain, but I want to have more fun with my movement now. I want to do the high-end movement, the more, like the reformer stuff, the cardio jump board and stuff like that, where you come out and you are dripping, you are working really hard, as well as the low stuff,
Yeah.
So
So bringing it back then to the sort of biomechanics coaching, which is how we're connected. What do you think? Do you come up across misconceptions about I Move Freely, biomechanics? You know, because we don't do biomechanics, do we? We do biomechanics coaching, which is intrinsic biomechanics specialism. So do you come across misconceptions maybe from other professionals, or are there any misconceptions, do you think, or are you confident with the way you communicate what you do as a biomechanics coach, I Move Freely coach, instructor?
I mean, there's a lot of parallels and interplay with, because I said to you, didn't I want to come and do the I Move Freely workshop, because I've not actually experienced one of those yet. So I did look at your what's the platform you're using at the moment, the free one that you're teaching on?
Zoom?
No.
Spirit, the app. It's an app.
Yeah. So I looked at that, and I looked at the I Move Freely. I didn't watch a whole class, but I did start watching what you were doing. And there's a lot of interplay between what I teach as a Pilates teacher and that. So a lot of the stuff, you know, is part of my Pilates class anyway. So we can do a 4 sign in a Pilates class as a pelvic, you know, release at the beginning of the session. We can put a lot of that stuff in. There's, you know, I mean, one of my physio colleagues said a really good phrase to me years ago, and it sticks with me all the time: nothing changes under the sun except for the angle of approach. Yeah. So biomechanics, movement. What I love about the biomechanics is the knowledge of how the body moves, and educating, because if people aren't aware, they're just not aware, full stop. You know, how they're sitting, how they're moving, how they're holding themselves, you know. And I think that the biomechanics gives them, particularly that
biomechanics coach diploma. We don't do biomechanics.
No, but I mean,
I think that's what I'm getting at, is the perception of what we do is biomechanics, and that's not what we do.
No,
is it? We do intrinsic biomechanics or biomechanics coaching, but there's this perception that it's the forces, the gait analysis, it's the video analysis, and yet it isn't. It's what you've described. It's that understanding the body, how we move, how we sit, right?
Yeah. So for me, biomechanics, and I'm not great with wording, okay? So I will say things that, you know, I'm not brilliant with wording. So for me, biomechanics, and, you know, is that awareness of how the body moves. Yeah, you've got all the technical side of it, like you say, all the gait analysis and, you know, all the, you know, everything else. But for me, and it's putting it in a simple term to our clients, it's how we move. How can we improve your movement? And the first thing we've got to do to improve people's movement is make them aware that they can improve their movement.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people aren't aware that they could move better. Yeah. So they might come to you with a shoulder, you know, a tight shoulder or a stiff neck or a stiff back. And we can look at them as coaches and go, well, that's because, you know, we can improve that range of movement there. We can improve this. We can release that. You know, we can give you this MET. We could, you know, there's lots of stuff that we can do, but we can't change that movement for them unless they're not aware. So that is what I think is just brilliant, is it's basics. It doesn't need to be technical. And I've seen that in the industry over years. You know, people take it. The reason what I do works, and I think it's a parallel with the biomechanics coaching, is we make it achievable and user-friendly for the clients. Yeah. You know, it is user-friendly, and they can see what we're doing. They can see a result. The links man, it's like, oh goodness, look, that's not, you know. And then you do some exercise, and they come back, they do the links man, they're like, oh, I'm feeling better, and I can see why I'm, you know, it's keeping it user-friendly. And that's what's good about it. You know, yeah, all right, we might need to know all the technical stuff. But what Joe Bloggs that comes to me with a stiff shoulder, you know, if I start talking technical to him, I've lost him. I've got to talk to, you know, he's farming, he's driving his tractor down here in Devon. You know, he needs to know why he can't turn around and open his window in his tractor.
Yeah.
So I've got to educate him about that. I've got to make him aware of that. And then I've got to make some changes through the biomechanics coaching or my Pilates or whatever it is that I'm doing, or a combination of both, to improve it. And then he comes back to me and he goes, oh, didn't even think about opening the window in the tractor today. You know, and it really is that simple. You know, it is that coaching movement, you know. So we can call it, again, we can call it what we want, but I think the biomechanics coaching in the Links Man is great because people can see it, you know, they can feel it.
Yeah.
But most of all, as coaches, we've got to get across to them, you know, this is why it's stiff, because you're holding it like this. If we change it and you can move your joint like that, it's gonna not be quite so stiff, and it's gonna be pain-free, and you're gonna be able to move more freely. And they're like, wow, it's like a real revelation to them, but it's got to be simple.
Yeah, you've got to, even though it's a complex subject. So have you got a book recommendation? I'm aware you've got things coming on shortly, so I'll have 2 more questions. Number 1, book recommendation, latest book, favourite book, industry or not, doesn't need to be.
I am not a book person. I just don't have time to read
Podcast?
Yeah, my podcasts, oh God, I hate it when you put me on the spot like that.
What's the last book you read, or the last podcast or Audible?
Do you know I did a webinar last week about online coaching,
right.
about getting online, because I'm the sort of person that needs to feel really confident if I'm going to do it and know my stuff inside out. I can sell ice to an Eskimo if I believe in it. Yeah. So for me to take my business online, I needed to understand that a little bit more. So I did 4 webinars in the first week that I shut my business.
Who was it? Who was the webinar?
So one was with a guy called Pete Tansley, and I don't know why he came up. And he's a bit Marmite. You love him or you hate him, because his attitude is a little bit like, oh well, this isn't a pandemic, you know, we've survived. And it's a little bit. He's a little bit edgy. Well, he's very edgy.
Right.
But and actually, when I listened to what he was talking about, I was like, oh yeah, that's not really anything new. But it was quite interesting. So I always believe whatever you watch, you can, you know, whatever you love or hate about it, you still learn.
Yeah.
Because you'll go, I wouldn't maybe do it like that, but I'll take that away from it. And then I did one with a yoga, don't ask me, they just came up on Facebook, and I thought, I'm just going to do them. You know, they're free. I'm going to do them. I've got time. Another one was with a yoga online teacher called Ashley Turner. And you know what? It was the same sort of, again, it goes back to that, nothing changes under the sun except for the angle of approach. You know, the basics are still there, you know? So they were good in the fact that I watched them and I thought, yeah, I've got this anyway, you know? So I did learn. In some ways, it sort of reassures you, that you're doing okay, that you're on the right path. And then I did one with our lovely Rachel Hall, Tom's sister.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because she just put out a free how to use Zoom. Because I'm I was a real technophobe until about a month ago. And I had to upskill massively, you know. And I know we'd done a Zoom Master Trainers meeting, but that was the only Zoom experience I had. So Rach did an amazing free Zoom online training, and so did Stacey Weeks from Tiverton Red U Pilates. So I did 2 of those. So that's really all I've done. As far as book goes, at the moment, I've got one on my desk behind me called Sailing Alone Around the World.
Oh, right. Is that the next plan? Once you've got your business up and going and...
Yeah, so I'm guessing my plan is, because I'm 52 now, and I've got to start thinking of an exit strategy over the next 8-10 years. And in my industry, the Pilates teachers, they teach till they're in their 80s, you know, conferences. And whilst that would be amazing, I want to be teaching from an island in the Caribbean or something, you know. I want to be able to take my stuff online and be able to do it from wherever I am in the world. And maybe, you know, have staff running my reformer studio, or sell it or pass it on to the kids or whatever that may be. So yeah, sailing alone around the world, which would absolutely scare me to death. I'd sooner paraglide around the world on my own than sail.
Well, so I'll leave that for you to do. I'm not sure that's my kind of thing, but so just to finish with, where do people find you? What's your website? Where are you in the world, etc., etc.?
So I'm down in North Devon in Bideford. My website is lbmovement.co.uk, and Facebook is LB Movement, Instagram is LB Movement, so it's all LB Movement, which is probably going to change in the next 6 months once downstairs opens, because you can't see, but I'm sat, I'll give you a little show. I am sat, oh, you can't really see, overlooking the river. So I have the river there.
Got you.
So I'm right on the quay. So I get a lovely river view. And I'm going to be renaming my business potentially something along the lines of that.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So we're going
I like it.
We're going to see. So yeah, so LB Movement, Lou Banfield. If you Google me, I've been around long enough that if you Google me, I'll come up on Google, because I'm that ancient.
Pair of dinosaurs, me and you, 30 odd years ago.
I know. Well, you know what? We may be aging in years, but we can still give those youngsters a run for their money.
No, it's been amazing. Thank you ever so much. Listen, stay safe, and I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks ever so much for your time.
Thank you. Lots
Take
of
care,
love.
lovely.
Bye bye bye.